They say the ground here is alive. On silent nights, it breathes, it growls, and sometimes it swallows whatever stands above it. This isn't a myth, it's real. And it's happening in the hills of Pennsylvania, where an entire town has been left to burn for over 60 years. What was once a thriving community of families, miners, and children playing on the streets is now a ghost town. Its homes stand hollow, its roads cracked and steaming, and beneath it all, a fire rages, a fire no one can put out. Tonight, we're taking you inside. We'll uncover the truth about what really happened here, and why, to this day, the earth beneath this town refuses to rest. More than half a century ago, this was a proud mining town. Coal was its lifeblood. The tunnels below stretched for miles, fueling America's factories and warming its homes. Above, life was simple but strong. Families built roots here, generation after generation. The sound of wagons and drills echoed through the valley. This place was more than a town. It was a promise of stability and work. But deep underground, danger was waiting. In the early 1960s, a small fire, no bigger than a campfire, slipped into the coal seams. At first, no one thought much of it. But day by day, week by week, the flames crawled deeper, feeding on the very fuel that gave the town life. The fire spread silently, invisible, unstoppable. Then came the signs. The streets cracked, houses tilted. The air grew heavy with sulfur. Even in the dead of winter, the earth itself was warm to the touch, and people began to realize the town beneath their feet was dying. Families fled. They left behind homes, memories, entire lives. Some took nothing more than what they could carry. Officials warned that the ground could collapse without warning, taking streets, houses, even entire neighborhoods down into the fiery tunnels below. What remains today looks like a frozen nightmare. Silent streets lined with broken houses, windows shattered, vines wrapping around lifeless walls, rusted road signs pointing to nowhere. And beneath it all, the fire still burns, as alive as the day it began. Scientists and explorers approach this place with caution. They carry sensors to measure the air, masks to filter the toxins, and gear to keep them alive when the heat rises through cracks in the soil. Some nights, locals swear they can hear the earth itself moan, as if something alive is shifting beneath the surface. Was this truly an accident? Or is there a deeper, darker truth? Some say powerful corporations buried the real cause to protect themselves. Others believe the fire awakened something ancient, something no one was meant to find. In this journey, we'll explore the ruins above ground, descend into the dangerous tunnels where light barely survives, and meet the few who still live at the edge of this fiery wasteland, refusing to leave even as the danger grows. This isn't just the story of a burning town. It's the story of human ambition, greed, and the unstoppable force of the earth itself. And it's a story that, after 60 years, is still being written. Stay with us, because what we find beneath the surface will change how you see the ground beneath your feet. The silence here is heavy. Every step echoes through the empty streets. Each crumbling wall, each broken window, tells the story of lives interrupted. But it's not just the silence that chills you. It's the heat, rising from cracks in the ground, invisible yet undeniable. A reminder that beneath these streets, the fire still moves, slowly, relentlessly, like a living creature that refuses to die. Centralia, Pennsylvania, a name most maps no longer carry. A town erased not by time, but by the earth itself. What began as a simple landfill fire in 1962 became something far more sinister. The flames slipped into the abandoned mine shafts beneath the town. Coal, once the heartbeat of this place, became its executioner. For years, officials tried to fight it. Trenches were dug to block the fire's advance. Massive amounts of dirt and clay were poured to suffocate the flames. But the coal seam stretched for miles, deep and winding like veins. Every attempt to stop it failed, and with each passing year, the fire spread further. By the late 1970s, the danger became impossible to ignore. Patches of ground reached over 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Toxic gases, carbon monoxide and sulfur dioxide, seeped from fissures, poisoning the air. And then, the earth opened up. In 1981, a 12-year-old boy named Todd Dombowski fell into a sudden sinkhole in his grandmother's backyard. The hole was over 150 feet deep, with smoke and toxic fumes rising from below. Miraculously, he survived, clinging to tree roots until rescuers pulled him out. But the message was clear. Centralia wasn't just uninhabitable, it was deadly. The government soon acted. Over 1,000 residents were forced to relocate. Homes were bought, demolished, or left to rot. Only a handful of people, unwilling to abandon their land, refused to leave. They remain here to this day, living on the fringes of a ghost town where danger is always a breath away. Walking these streets now feels like stepping into another world. Nature has reclaimed much of what was left. Vines crawl up rusted mailboxes. Foxes and deer roam freely where children once played. Spray-painted graffiti lines the cracked highways, a strange reminder that, even in ruin, some are drawn to witness this place. Yet despite its emptiness, Centralia is far from dead. Beneath the quiet, the fire still consumes everything in its path. Experts estimate it could burn for another 100 years, maybe longer, before the coal seams finally run out. For scientists, Centralia is both a nightmare and a rare opportunity, a living laboratory to study the hidden dangers beneath our feet. We join a team of geologists preparing to enter the exclusion zone. Their mission: measure gas levels, map the fire's spread, and collect soil samples from the hottest points. Each carries a respirator, thermal cameras, and sensors to detect carbon monoxide. The risk is real. Collapse, toxic air, and extreme heat are constant threats. But for these scientists, understanding Centralia is crucial, not just to predict its future, but to prevent other towns from suffering the same fate. Standing near one of the larger fissures, the ground vibrates faintly underfoot. Warm air seeps upward, carrying with it the smell of sulfur and ash. It feels unnatural, almost alive, as though the earth itself is exhaling. Our guide explains that temperatures just a few feet below can exceed 900 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt asphalt in minutes. And still, the fire advances silently deep below the surface. As night falls, the town feels even stranger. The distant glow of smoldering vents casts an eerie light on the empty streets. Fog and smoke drift together, creating ghostly shapes in the dark. It is easy to see why so many urban legends surround this place, from whispers of cursed land to claims of something ancient, buried deep, fueling the flames. Are these just stories born of fear? Or could there be more to Centralia than anyone truly understands? In our next chapter, we'll follow the scientists deeper into the exclusion zone. We'll descend into one of the remaining access tunnels, where temperatures rise with every step, and where, for decades, no sunlight has reached. Because to truly understand why Centralia still burns, we must go where few have dared to walk. The deeper we go, the heavier the air becomes. Each breath feels thick, weighted with the faint burn of sulfur. The ground beneath us is no longer solid. It is warm and soft in places, as though something is shifting below the surface. This is where most visitors turn back. But for the scientists guiding us, this is the center of their investigation. To understand why Centralia still burns, we must see what the fire has left behind. The entrance to the tunnel is narrow, barely wide enough to squeeze through with heavy equipment. The beam of our headlamps cuts through a dense haze of dust and smoke. Every step forward is measured and careful. The walls are coated in layers of black soot, crumbling when touched. Somewhere ahead, the faint hiss of escaping gas echoes, like a whisper in the dark. The further we descend, the more intense the heat becomes. Sensors begin to record alarming spikes in temperature. 300 degrees, 500. In the deepest sections, the heat can climb past 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit. Staying here for more than a few minutes without protection would be fatal. Our guide points to the jagged ground ahead, where glowing cracks pulse with an orange-red light. The fire beneath us moves through the coal seams, feeding on fuel that stretches far beyond our sight. It feels less like we are inside the earth, and more like we are standing inside a living organism that is slowly consuming everything around it. The sound is what unsettles us most. It is not loud or constant, but there is a low rumble, distant yet present, as if the earth itself is breathing. The scientists assure us it is only the shifting of rock and heat. Still, standing here in the shadows, it is hard not to feel as though something ancient is stirring beneath our feet. For years, these tunnels have been at the center of countless urban legends. Some claim strange lights appear deep within the shafts with no clear source. Others insist they have heard faint voices, whispers echoing through the darkness, as if the walls are speaking. Most dismiss these as illusions caused by fear, heat, and toxic gases. Yet when you are here, with only your breath and the faint glow of fire beneath you, those stories feel far more believable. The research team begins their work, collecting soil samples from the hottest areas, mapping gas levels, and capturing thermal images of the fire's advance. Each detail is critical to understanding how far the flames have traveled and how long they will last. Their findings are sobering. Some experts believe the underground inferno could burn for another 2 centuries before the coal is fully consumed. Others warn that as the fire continues, the shifting ground could cause collapses far beyond the borders of the abandoned town, threatening nearby areas in the years ahead. Before we leave, our guide draws our attention to a thin shaft of smoke rising into the darkness above. He explains why every attempt to stop the fire has failed. The coal seams beneath Centralia are connected like a massive web. Block one tunnel, and the fire simply finds another path to follow. No trench, no flood, and no barrier has ever been enough to contain it. This is not a simple fire. It has become a living system, one that will only end when there is nothing left for it to devour. Emerging back into the cold night air, the contrast is overwhelming. The streets above are quiet and still, yet beneath us, the inferno continues to breathe and spread. It is a haunting reminder of how fragile our presence on this planet truly is. We dig, we build, and we reshape the earth. But when the earth turns against us, there is little we can do to resist its power. In the next chapter, we leave the tunnels behind and seek out the few who still call this place home. The last residents of Centralia live on the edge of danger, surrounded by a land that most have abandoned. Why do they stay? What ties them to a place where the ground itself is slowly dying? Their answers may be more unsettling than the fire itself. The streets of Centralia are silent, but not empty. Among the ruins, a few scattered homes still stand, lights flickering in the windows. Here, a handful of people have chosen to remain, long after the world has abandoned this place. These are the last residents of Centralia. Some are old, bound by family roots that stretch back for generations. Others are defiant, unwilling to surrender their land to the fire or to government officials who urge them to leave. Each has their own reason, but all share one thing. They live every day knowing the ground beneath them could give way without warning. We meet John, a retired miner in his 70s, who has lived here his entire life. His house sits on the edge of the exclusion zone, surrounded by cracked roads and overgrown fields. He tells us he has seen the land change year after year, the earth rising and sinking as the fire shifts below. When asked why he stays, his answer is simple. This is my home. My father worked these mines. My family is buried here. If the ground takes me, it takes me here. For the few who remain, life is anything but ordinary. They live with constant warnings. Do not step near certain roads. Avoid the fields where smoke escapes from fissures. And never ignore the sulfur smell that can creep into their homes. Most have carbon monoxide detectors in every room, always alert for invisible danger. They cannot rely on city services. Mail no longer comes regularly, and the few remaining streets are barely maintained. Yet they endure, holding on to a town that no longer officially exists. Walking through the neighborhood, we see reminders of the past scattered among the decay. A rusted swing set sways gently in the wind, long after the laughter of children has faded. An old church stands with its doors locked, its congregation long gone, the bell tower now silent. Nature has claimed much of what was left behind, but traces of life remain, stubborn and unyielding. At night, the atmosphere becomes even more surreal. The glow of smoldering vents in the distance reflects off the mist that drifts across the abandoned streets. It feels otherworldly, as if the town itself is caught between the living and the dead. Some residents claim they hear strange noises after dark, distant rumbles that sound almost like voices. Scientists attribute it to shifting rock and underground gas, but for those who live here, it feels like something more. We ask Mary, one of the last residents, why she refuses to leave. Her voice is calm, but her words cut deep. They tell us this place is dying. Maybe it is. But leaving would be like letting it die twice. We are the last pieces of what this town was. When we're gone, it will truly disappear. Their resilience is remarkable, but it comes at a cost. Isolation, danger, and the constant awareness that the earth beneath them is slowly eroding. Experts predict that, in time, even these last homes will become too dangerous to inhabit. Whether the remaining residents choose to leave or are forced to, one thing is certain. Centralia, as a living town, will vanish completely. Before we leave, we stand on a ridge overlooking the ruins. Smoke drifts from a dozen fissures in the valley below. The sky is dark, the air thick with the smell of burning earth. This place feels like a monument to human ambition and nature's power, locked in an endless struggle. But Centralia is not just a story of loss. It is a warning, a reminder that the world we build can be undone not by war or neglect, but by the very ground beneath us. As long as the fire burns, the town remains a living scar, a place where the earth itself writes its own ending. In the next chapter, we explore the science behind this endless fire. What truly keeps it alive? And could there be more towns across the world living above the same unseen danger? Beneath the quiet hills of Pennsylvania, the fire continues to feed, creeping slowly through a network of tunnels and coal seams that stretch for miles. To understand why Centralia burns after more than 6 decades, we must uncover the science behind this disaster. Coal is unlike any other fuel. When ignited, it does not simply burn on the surface. It smolders deep within, holding heat and oxygen in a way that allows the fire to travel far underground. The mine tunnels beneath Centralia, carved over generations, act as a highway for the flames, carrying heat and gases across vast distances. These tunnels, once built to fuel the town's economy, now carry the force that destroyed it. Scientists explain that the fire does not need a large visible flame to spread. Even when no smoke can be seen above ground, the coal continues to smolder below, generating enough heat to ignite new veins and push further outward. Every shift in the earth, every small collapse, gives the fire new air and fresh fuel. It is a chain reaction, one that cannot be stopped without sealing every tunnel completely, something that has proven impossible. The air itself becomes part of the threat. As coal burns, it releases gases like carbon monoxide and methane, which seep through cracks to the surface. These gases are not just toxic, they are invisible killers, capable of suffocating anyone who lingers too close to the wrong vent for too long. This is why scientists wear respirators and carry detectors at all times while studying the area. We meet Dr. Alan Hayes, a geologist who has studied underground coal fires across the world. He describes Centralia as one of the most persistent and dangerous cases ever recorded. He tells us that coal seams can burn at temperatures over 1,000 degrees Fahrenheit, hot enough to melt rock, and yet remain hidden only a few feet below the surface. According to his research, the fire could continue to burn for another 1 to 2 centuries before it exhausts all available fuel. But Centralia is not alone. Across the world, hundreds of underground coal fires are quietly consuming the land above them. In China's Xinjiang region, some of the largest fires burn through mountains of coal, releasing massive amounts of greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. In India's Jharia coalfields, entire villages live on unstable ground, with flames visible at night as they seep through cracks in the earth. Centralia may be the most famous example, but it is part of a much larger, hidden crisis. For many scientists, Centralia serves as a crucial warning. It shows how a single spark, left unchecked, can create a disaster that outlives generations. Coal, once a foundation of industry, becomes a force of destruction when mishandled. And with so many old mining regions across the world, the danger remains real and present. As we watch thermal cameras map the underground heat, it becomes clear just how alive this fire is. Bright patches on the screen show the hottest spots, glowing like open wounds beneath the surface. Each one is a reminder that what looks calm and still above is anything but below. Stopping a fire like this is almost impossible. Traditional firefighting methods, flooding, trenching, or smothering, rarely succeed because the coal seams run too deep and too far. Attempts to starve the fire of oxygen often backfire, as collapsing tunnels allow new air to rush in, giving the flames new life. Experts agree that Centralia's fire will only end when the coal is gone. Until then, it will continue to burn, shifting silently through the earth. Yet there is another layer to this story. The gases released by underground fires are not just dangerous locally. They contribute to global emissions, adding to the climate crisis in ways few people realize. Centralia may seem like a single, isolated tragedy, but it is part of a problem with worldwide impact. Standing at the edge of a steaming fissure, Dr. Hayes delivers a sobering thought. We can predict its path, we can map its spread, but we cannot truly control it. This fire is a reminder of how little power we have when the earth decides to burn from within. In the next chapter, we will explore what the future holds for Centralia. Will the fire claim the last homes? Could the land ever be restored? Or will it remain a scar on the map for centuries? And what lessons can we take from this disaster to prevent the next one? The town of Centralia stands as a monument to both human ambition and the uncontrollable power of nature. Its streets, now fractured and silent, are slowly being swallowed by the earth itself. Beneath the surface, the fire continues to move, unstoppable, consuming the last veins of coal as it has for over 60 years. The question now is not if the town will survive, but what will become of it once the fire finally burns itself out. Experts predict the flames may smolder for another century, perhaps 2, before the coal is gone. By then, the last homes will have collapsed, and the land will be unrecognizable, reshaped by decades of heat and shifting earth. What was once a thriving mining community will exist only as memory, its story told by the few who lived here and the scientists who studied its slow destruction. Some dream of restoring the land when the fire is gone, turning Centralia into a vast green space, a living reminder of what was lost. Others argue that the scars will remain too deep, the soil poisoned and unstable, making it unfit for future life. Even if nature eventually reclaims the area, it may never truly be the same. For now, the last residents continue their lives at the edge of this quiet inferno. They tend their gardens, drive along cracked streets, and watch as steam rises from fissures just beyond their homes. Every day, they live with a reminder that their town is not truly alive, only lingering in a state between existence and erasure. Centralia's story resonates far beyond Pennsylvania. It warns us of the dangers that lie beneath, hidden in the remnants of our industries. Across the world, other towns rest above forgotten mines, their own fates uncertain. Each one carries the potential for disaster, a single spark away from becoming another Centralia. Yet there is something strangely beautiful about what remains here. The empty streets, overtaken by trees and wildlife, feel both haunting and peaceful. The once busy highways, now covered in graffiti and weeds, serve as canvases for those drawn to this strange, abandoned place. For some visitors, Centralia is a tragedy. For others, it is a testament to resilience, a place where life, in some form, still finds a way to return. As we stand on a hill overlooking the ghost town, the sun begins to set. Steam curls from cracks in the earth below, glowing in the fading light. The air smells of sulfur, faint but sharp, a reminder that the fire still breathes. It is easy to feel small here, knowing that this quiet valley hides a force that will continue long after we are gone. Centralia is more than a ghost town. It is a lesson written in ash and smoke, a reminder that the ground we walk on is not always solid, and that some forces cannot be controlled, only endured. The people who once lived here built lives, families, and futures on this land, never imagining that the same coal that gave them prosperity would one day erase their home. When the last home falls and the last resident leaves, Centralia will no longer be a town. It will be a scar on the earth, a story of fire and endurance, whispered through the rising smoke. For future generations, it will serve as both a warning and a wonder, proof of what can happen when the forces of nature and human industry collide. As the night falls, we leave Centralia behind. The wind carries the faint hiss of steam through the quiet streets, a sound that will not stop until the fire itself does. Somewhere deep below, the coal continues to burn slowly, silently, as it has for decades. Long after the world forgets the people who lived here, the fire will remain, writing the final chapter of Centralia's story in heat and smoke. For over 60 years, Centralia has burned, an endless fire beneath a ghost town, whispering a story few dare to tell. This is more than a tragedy. It's a reminder that beneath the surface, the world hides secrets darker than we imagine. Now, a new chapter begins. Frontier Realms will take you there, beyond the maps, beyond the headlines, beyond the ordinary. Step into the unknown. The journey starts now. If this story gripped you, share it, like it, and join Frontier Realms for more untold truths the world tried to forget.